I arrived at Akintola Road, Victoria Island, and was well received by Alice and her parents. The parents knew me and my background as we came from the same village, but never knew of my relationship with their daughter. Alice then introduced me to them as a man she has chosen to marry. The parents were shocked, but after some discussions with her, agreed on the condition that they would further my education. Alice rejected their offer and requested that I be allowed to live with her in her own flat. The parents could not accept this, but she insisted. They had a strong argument for 4 days, and under some unexplained influence, they agreed, and I moved in with Alice. Alice, a very beautiful girl, told me that she was an accountant with the Standard Bank, and that she would make me rich and give me all that I needed in this life, and said, "Just settle down and enjoy yourself." My first impression about Lagos was true after all. Few months ago I was in a small hut in a small village, surrounded by hatred, starvation, and suffering, and here I am, living in a big city, in a well-furnished flat, with a beautiful wife who had promised to give me all that life could offer. She showered me with gifts, money, clothing, love. I never knew that the world was filled with these good things. The devil indeed is a deceiver. The Scripture rightly says, "The thief cometh not but for to steal, to kill, and to destroy." Only the Son of Man, Jesus Christ, can give life and give it more abundantly. John 10:10. Dear reader, the devil has no free gift. Whatever he gives you is for an exchange with your soul. This state of euphoria was short-lived because after a period of 3 months, strange things started happening. The mysterious experiences. One night, I woke up in the dead of the night and found a boa constrictor beside me. I wanted to shout but could not. Some nights, I would wake up to see Alice's body as transparent as a cellophane bag. Some nights, she would disappear and reappear. Some nights, I would hear strange noises or dancing in the living room. I could no longer bear these fearful happenings, so I decided to ask her, and the first reaction was violence and serious warning. She said, "Do not ask me this question again, or else I will deal with you." From then, I knew my life was in danger. I then preferred the sufferings in the village to what I came to discover. I became afraid of her. 2 days passed, and she came with smiles, gifts, and hugged me. She told me how much she loved and cared for me, and encouraged me not to be afraid, and promised to explain things to me later. She took me to a nightclub, and there reminded me of her promise to make me rich, and told me, "One day, you will know all that I know." We came back, and life continued as normal between us. Inwardly, I knew I was in danger. But how could I escape, and where would I escape to? It is important to note here that Alice's parents did not know that their daughter, though young, was involved seriously in occultism and spiritualism, and she seriously warned me never to tell them if I loved my life. Dear reader, can you imagine a 20-year-old girl doing all these things? The outside world saw her as a very beautiful and harmless girl working with a big bank, but she was the devil's agent. There are a lot of Alices in the world today, as you will find out later in this book. A horrific discovery. One day, after she had left for work, I decided to search the flat. As young as she was, the flat was well furnished. She had 4 refrigerators, and on opening one, I saw human skulls, different parts of human body, both fresh and dry. Inside the ceiling were skeletons. In another corner of one of the rooms, I saw what I later knew as a chamber, a water pot filled with blood, and a small tree in the center of the pot, a calabash, and a red cloth by it. I could not continue. Now I knew that I was a dead man, and since I had nowhere to run to, I surrendered my life to whatever comes, life or death, and kept sealed lips. Alice came back from work, and from the way she looked at me, I knew that right in her office she knew what I did in the house. Encounter with the occult world. The following day she requested me to follow her to a meeting. I was already a captive and had no choice. We went to a very big building on the outskirts of Lagos. On arriving, the building had an underground conference hall. I was instructed by Alice to enter backwards. I obeyed and entered with my back. She also did the same. The hall was so large, with about 500 young men and women seated in a circle, and seated above them was a man whose head could only be seen, and without a body, as the leader. Some of these young people were students, undergraduates, graduates, teachers, etc. Alice pressed a button on the wall, and a seat came out from the ground, and I sat. She did the same, and another came out for her, and she sat. She introduced me to the congregation as a new member, and they applauded and welcomed me. Alice was promoted as a result of this. All that they discussed in the meeting I never understood. At the end of it, and as we were about to leave, I was asked to come back alone the following day by the leader. This was my first encounter with the occult world. That same night at 2 a.m., and this is the usual hour of meetings and dangerous operations by all the forces of darkness and their agents, Alice woke me up and revealed certain things to me. She said, "I am not an ordinary human being. I am half human and half spirit, but mainly of the spirit. What you see in my chamber is what I use during my prayers every morning, so that the spirits will guide me through the day. As for the skeletons, I will tell you later." I never said a word. She brought out some books on world mysteries for me to read, and with my inquisitive mind, I decided to read them. Shortly I became interested, and immediately she saw that I was now interested. Unknown to me, she sent my name to an occult society in India. As previously instructed, the following day I went back to the society alone, and there met 9 others and some witnesses. We were to be initiated. We were called out to the center of the hall, and the following things were administered to us. Number 1, a concoction that looked like putty was rubbed on our bodies. This qualifies you as a full member. Number 2, a glass shot of oil-like liquid was given to us to drink. This qualifies you to be an agent. Number 3, a gunpowder-like substance was rubbed on our heads. This qualifies you to study their mysteries. Unknown also to me, this initiation ceremony was being recorded in India, and the next day I received a letter from them. In the letter, I was instructed to stain the letter with my own blood and to post it back to them through a means they described, not the post office. I did. From this point, there was no turning back. Turning back meant death, as one was always reminded, and I knew there was no more hope for me. Covenant with Alice. Early one morning, she told me there was an important ceremony to be performed in the house. At 2 a.m., she brought a crawling child, a girl, alive. Before my eyes, Alice used her fingers and plucked out the child's eyes. The cry of that child broke my heart. She then slaughtered the child into pieces and poured both the blood and the flesh into a tray and asked me to eat. I refused. She looked straight at me, and what came out of her eyes cannot be explained in writing. Before I knew what was happening, I was not only chewing the meat, but also licking the blood. While this was happening, she said, "This is a covenant between us. You will never say out anything you see me do, or anything about me to any human on earth. The day you break this covenant, your own is gone," meaning that the day I break this covenant, I will be killed. After this incident, I started having strange feelings inside me. I was changed and could no longer control myself. A word of warning to mothers. Do you know your house helps? What is his or her background like? Do you care to find out all about him or her before entrusting the lives of your children to him or her? How did Alice get the little child she slaughtered, you may ask? Therefore, parents, know the background of your house helps. When Alice saw that she had succeeded in getting me fully involved in Spiritism and was fast growing in it, she was satisfied and knew her mission was accomplished. She found a flat for me, helped furnish it, and thereafter severed the relationship. Covenant in India. The society in Delhi, India, sent me a second letter asking me to come over to India. In it also I was instructed to do the following: eat excreta, eat decaying-smelling rats, and to have sexual intercourse with spirits in the cemetery at night. After fulfilling the above, I was bound never to have any sexual intercourse with any women on earth. I sent a reply to their letter informing them that I had no visa, neither do I know how to get to India. At this time, I had started doing business. I was a serious smuggler, but because of these powers behind me, I had no trouble with customs, etc. I started having a lot of money, food and materials were no longer scarce. One day, I locked my flat and went out. Coming back, I opened the door, and behold, a man sitting in the parlor. I was afraid. He said, "Are you not Emmanuel Amos?" I said, "I am." He said, "I have been sent to come and collect you to India, so get ready." I locked everywhere, went and sat beside